Hey everybody, Curtis again, the exhibits buyer for Ripley's Believe It or Not, and today we're here to talk about spies, spy gadgets, spy equipment, and we're going to dive into some bugs, but not the bugs you're thinking about. I'm talking about the spy listening devices. Let's go ahead and just talk about some of these because they all do different things, but they're all very cool. Let's start off with what you saw first. This is a spy dictionary. It's set up to look like a book, obviously, but hidden inside of it is a camera that was used to take photographs unsuspectingly. So I'm going to open it up here. You can see there's different triggers on it. There's a trigger here. This is actually where you take the picture. So you can hear, if I click this, you're going to hear it. You hear that? That's the shutter of the camera going off. It actually comes out, the photograph is taken from this hole right here, and then there's actually a little tiny mirror here at a 45-degree angle that this camera could be adjusted angles, and then it could shoot basically a little bit more around corners and stuff, basically using the reflection of the mirror. Let's open this up and show you what it kind of looks like though, because it's neat, but it's a little anticlimactic on the inside. It's a hollowed out book with a camera inside, and just like I mentioned, here is the switch that activated the camera. So like I said, this would be used by spies or you know, secret agents to basically take photographs unsuspectingly. This could be used in a few different ways. Now this is pretty neat, but really what I want to show you are a couple of these things. So little note about me, I am a huge James Bond fan. I saw my first James Bond movie when I was about 10 years old, Goldfinger, just for those of you who are wondering, Team Connery. And it kind of ignited just a passion for spy gadgets and secret agents in general, so I get a kick out of this personally as well as professionally. So for those of you who watch James Bond, you know that the gadget master, it was named Q, or they called him Q. So the Russians, or the KGB, Soviet Union, they all had their version, and apologies to my Russian friends because I'm going to butcher his name, but his name was Vadim. Oh, and I can't even remember his last name. I'm going to have to look it up. It's Vadim Goncharov is his name. And he was basically considered their version of Q, the real life version of Q, and the inventor of bugs. And that's kind of what we have here and what I'm going to get to. But what I'm showing you right now, this is a spy camera. So this would have been used most specifically behind a button or possibly even a belt. It would go in line with something like this. This is a belt, a spy belt that was made, and it's actually got a little tiny screen here you can see that would allow you to take a picture from behind it. And it's really funny to look at what you would consider spy gadgets. You can go online nowadays and get stuff that's far better than this just off of Amazon or something like that. But you got to think, this was the technology in its day. This would really have been used during the Cold War era. Most specifically, these gadgets are probably from the 60s. But this camera would have gone behind a belt or a button and then would have been remotely triggered to, again, take photographs without anybody kind of suspecting that. Let's get to bugs, because this is really what I wanted to talk about. Because like I said, the Russians had their version of Q, who is the inventor of the modern day bug. And these are a bunch of different bugs, which of course are listening devices. And they come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them are actually, you need to run back to recording devices. Some of them are wireless that go back to, different transmitters and receivers, whatnot. But they all have the same purpose, which was to listen without people knowing you're being listened, or you're listening to them. Fun story about these bugs. After the bug was invented, they actually placed one in the United States seal that was given to the U.S. ambassador of the USSR, and it stayed there without anybody knowing for 8 years before it was eventually found by our government. So you can only imagine what type of conversations were held over those 8 years that they had full access to listening to without our knowledge. These are just a couple of different bugs of various sizes that would be planted into different items and then hidden in a room. An example of this is right here, and this is what I'm most excited to show you. These are, this is a set of china, basically from the KGB era, and this would have been used basically anytime a diplomat, or if the president had come, or something like that, for a state dinner, these would have been given to them to eat off of, or you know, basically just use in their everyday use. But they contain secret hidden listening devices. We've got a bowl down there, and this is the plate that has a bug inside of it. I'm actually going to show you guys kind of a cool close-up of this as well, because hidden inside of the bottom of the plate is what I'm talking about. We've got a little tiny arrow here, you can see, that kind of points where that bug would have been. But if I flip this open, and of course this would have been sealed, this wouldn't have been held on with tape, but inside here you can actually see the little tiny listening device that would have been used. You can imagine if this had been served to a president or somebody of high power, and they had conversations that they thought were private, that were then recorded and transmitted to other countries. Remarkable technology, but obviously something you wouldn't want to happen to you. And last but not least, I wanted to kind of show you guys this, because relating back to bugs, I think this is probably my favorite piece of technology that's extremely outdated and funny to look at. Let's say you were going on a little holiday and you kind of thought that your room might be bugged. What do? You grab this. This is, an unbelievably compact, of course, bug detector. Imagine this needing to be part of your toolkit. But basically what you would have had to have done was to assemble this device and then turn it on and scan the room for bugs. Basically what this would do would be to emit a beeping sound or some sort of audio signal that would tell you whether or not there was a bug in the room. But I just think it's very funny that the detector for this is actually bigger than most of the bugs that were used, especially in that era. Kind of is a real dated piece of technology, but also is got a great story, because imagine needing to travel with this just as your daily line of work. These are just a few items that we have that are spy-oriented. Love to dive into this again at one point, but this is a really good overview of what we have. I hope you guys really enjoyed, and until next time.